I'm here to announce an exciting new addition to our API monitoring capabilities. We now have the ability to create a multi-step API monitor directly in the AlertSite console. With this functionality, you can create a sequence of API calls in a single monitor that allows you to take context from one step to the other. This lets you mirror the functionality that your mobile applications and your websites are going to use when they're interacting with your APIs.
Now let's create a multi-step API transaction monitor right from the AlertSite console. We select Add New and Monitor from the dashboard, and we're taken to the API options for new monitor creation. You can see we can upload a SoapUI project, or we can create the endpoint monitor directly from the UI. When I select the endpoint monitor type, I'm taken into our endpoint testing component of the UI. So from here, we enter in whatever endpoint we want, hit validate, and it's going to execute the call against that endpoint. So in this case, we're making a call to get back a unique identifier. We're going to use this identifier later, so we're going to first create an assertion to make sure it works, and then we're going to create a variable from this identifier that we'll use in a subsequent step. So for starters, we're going to create an assertion that this UUID exists in the response to the first call. Secondly, we're going to create a variable so that we can capture this UUID and use it in subsequent steps of the monitor. So now we've got our first step, and we've got our variable, we've got our assertion. So if we hit add step, two things are going to happen. One, we're going to be presented with another endpoint creation interface, but you also notice on the left side of the screen, we have our step summary panel. This allows us to see all the steps that exist for this monitor and let us kind of navigate across the different steps that are created. So let's get the second call going here. And in this case now, I'm going to do a post and send some data to this endpoint. And I'm going to send the data from our variable from step one. So you see here, we list out the endpoint that's called from the previous step, and any variable that's created will be listed here as well. On any part of the UI where a variable's valid, we'll see this blue insertion icon exists. We can click that, and now that UUID is part of the post that we're going to send when we call this endpoint. So if we hit validate now, you'll see that we get back a result, and we've got this field now, data, which contains the value of the UUID from that request. And this will change each time it's run. So once the endpoints are defined, the next step is to configure the monitor itself. So there's some real high-level things here. What are we going to call the monitor? We'll give it a name. You can select the interval, the timeout values, some of the firing modes, and all the locations that you have available in your account will show up here as well. So you can choose from any of our external locations around the world or any private locations that you have. We've now created a multi-step transaction that includes chain data from the first step passed into the second step.
We've always had multi-step API capabilities through our SoapUI integration. This just lets you create them however works best for your organization, in the console directly or through SoapUI.